It's gonna be another PvZ. Strap yourselves in. We could be in for a couple of these.
That we could. Or we could be looking to get into a mirror matchup after this. We shall see, as we are massive fans of one of these players. We cast them as much as we can as we are remaking. God damn it.
I guess you're in the wrong map, question mark? Not sure what that was about. But yeah, we are really big fans of stats. We're massive fans of Armani. Just a little bit about us here, just to be transparent. Oh, it's because we forgot Maddox and Pig. Yeah, I was actually going to point that out. I was like, why isn't Pig joining us?
God damn it.
It's actually because they were forgotten.
Here we go. Let's make sure everyone gets in here. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. We be going. Everyone's in here. Glide, our Russian caster. Legend K, our French caster. Inu and Maddox, our two Korean casters. Pig and ourselves as our English casters.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have a German cast today.
Well,
we say that, but ich sprechen das oder ich Deutsch.
What the hell did you just try to say? Oh yeah, I forgot. Do you have something ready, or do you want to do it for the next one?
I didn't.
Okay.
We'll do it on the next one.
We have so much downtime.
Look, the star didn't remind us. Funara the star in the chat.
Funara.
As we start things off here on Def Ora LE. LE, of course, standing for something or another. Look. Man, casting Dream Pool yesterday brought me back to 2018, I gotta tell you, Light. I'm bringing LE back. Yeah, subconsciously. The blue Protoss player coming down from South Korea. He is the Shield of Aya himself, representing a freak of freaks. He is Stats. Boys.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Death Aura LE, we have the most fashionable player in all of StarCraft. He is the Red Zerg, also representing a Freak of Freaks, as this is a team kill. It is Armani.
Okay, interesting to see how this is going to play out. Now, Nice versus Armani did take quite a while, but I don't think that was because of Armani. If I'm being real with you here, like.
Do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is Armani is the type of player who will try to get something done in terms of like a timing, and if that fails, then we just have a longer game. So really, what I'm saying is Nice are pretty good to defend Armani.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see what Armani has in store for us here. Again, when it comes to someone like Solar, he's very stylistic and, you know, his all-ins and ending the game much earlier. Armani, not so much. He can pull that out, but we have seen him go into those later stages of the game as well. And we also know that Stats, unlike Patience, he is also very keen on going there, you know, just walling off, kind of like Zest as well, just going into that late game Skytel style.
Yeah, of course he has his own style of doing that. I think that Zest is quite a bit more focused on just being as greedy as possible, whereas Stats prefers to turtle up a bit more. But the end game is about the same for both players. It's a lot of carriers, a lot of storms.
Yeah, so strap yourselves in, guys, because that's most likely where Stats is going to direct this game as best as he can. We'll see if Armani can disrupt that a little bit, or if he just kind of lays back and just double expands and just, like, you know, just goes with it as well. I'm really curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually, but for now, both players just building up as much as they can. Stats kind of living up to his reputation somewhat, you know, being pretty on meta with his Void Ray opening.
Yeah, I was I was gonna say, is this our first PvZ? Because it, like, when I think of Patience, like, he's not a Protoss.
I mean,
like,
yes, yeah, okay, yeah. This is our first actual PvZ.
Like, we did not see a like standard Protoss play at all from Patience. Like, that was not that was its own thing.
Even when he did do the meta builds, he did it his own way.
He did. So Stats is coming out with something a little bit more standard. You know, he goes Void Ray first, he's going for the expansion, he's hunting down Overlords, denying all the vision. Meanwhile, Armani focusing on that Queen production. Of course, I'm sure Stats would like to deal some damage with that Void Ray. We've seen some players move out with like 4 Void Rays and like snipe the main hatchery or something along those lines. Oh, Armani, very fast Evo chamber.
Huh, okay. So maybe taking a little bit of a page out of Solar's book, maybe just trying to end this game as quickly as he can. I imagine it's gotta be melee, right?
I would assume so. I would like that's oh my.
Be Carapace. Okay, I was gonna say another way of going this is to maybe get a quick range and then try to go into Hydras as quickly as possible. But Carapace with a Roach Warren?
Interesting. So it gets scattered. it gets scattered almost immediately.
For all Stats knows, that is an attack upgrade.
True, and which is the more standard thing to do, right? So like maybe he just suspects some kind of big timing coming his way. Again, really interesting that he's going for that +1 carapace. Meanwhile, Stats, he's doing Stats things. He is going double Stargate. We're going to have plenty of Void Rays coming out, so it's going to be difficult to make something happen with the Roach push, unless there are plenty of Queens to assist them. Oh my god!
Oh. That's a lot more drones going down than I kind of expected here. Maybe that's why Armani's going for Carapace. He just does not want to lose too many drones.
Maybe. That was a lot of drone kills. Again, he kind of neglected his Spore a little bit there, so was punished for it. He is working on his lair. I guess we'll wait and see what he does when he has that lair, if he goes straight into Hydras.
It's gotta be, right?
It's, yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna get +1 Carapace and go for Mutas.
Not at all. I'm just so surprised that he opted to go for this instead of +1 range. We'll see what happens here. The Void Rays are coming in, looking to dive into the main base, but the Spores are about to finish up.
And the Queens have already finished spreading creep a while ago. It's sort of hurting these Void Rays. Get right into the Spores! So that's moving away just at the last second.
Yeah, this response has become very common because more often than not, I mean, you've seen it yourself, where Void Rays come in and they kill a hatchery. And there's nothing to stop them. So the Spores are here to help deter that, but the Void Rays, they sneak past.
And they're gunning down these observers. Once again, that Evo Chamber getting prioritizing Carapace.
Not just that, more Void Rays are going down. Okay, there is a recall, so the Void Rays are able to safely escape from the other side of the map. And I'm surprised as well, he's committing to these armor upgrades.
Maybe he realizes the DPS of Hydras are already pretty high, so he just wants to, you know, not lose them to something like Archons or Chargelots. And that is kind of the big downside of Hydras, isn't it? They are very squishy units.
True. I mean, that's why, like, I would think that, like, you accept the fact that Hydras are squishy and you just turn them into glass cannons and you focus on the attack upgrades. But we'll see how this works out for Armani if the armor upgrades make them beefy enough to weather the storm, because here come the Chargelots, here come the Void Rays.
Yeah, nice little wall here from Armani, but they are going to find an opening. Does get them into a bit of a choke point here, but there's not any AoE for Armani to really take advantage of that. The concave, though, is absolutely real. The Archons are forcing their way through, and I think you were right, Light. The +1 Carapace isn't helping that much.
All the Archons do get taken out. There is one left, though, and the Chargelots are mowing their way through everything that is on the ground. +2 armor is not done yet. And with that, with another wave of Chargelots, it should be enough to overwhelm what's here on the ground.
Yeah, this is way too much momentum. Even with the Carapace upgrades, Zealots, they're a lot beefier than any Zerg unit out there. Maybe other than Hydralisk or Roaches.
But reinforcements are starting to trickle in. There is another warp in. Oh god, but once this finishes up, I was hoping maybe there would be enough for Armani to hold on, but it doesn't quite look like it as every single Hydra goes down.
Indeed, it does. It's only Roaches left here, but between the Void Rays and the Zealots, this is not looking too good for Armani whatsoever. We'll be able to hold over here, and to be fair, Stats didn't really get too much economic damage done. Didn't kill too many drones, and Armani still has his hatcheries, but that was a lot of it's a lot of dead Hydras, is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about what just happened.
It's not a very efficient trade.
Yeah, so Armani lost a lot of gas-intensive units. He lost every single one of his Hydras, and his Queens as well. But as you said, Stats didn't get any worker kills. He didn't kill a base either. Like, no hatcheries were dead. Like, Armani survived, and he survived in a pretty decent position. He is down in workers, but he's not too far behind.
Yeah, and that's not the worst case scenario here for a ZVP. You can always just pump out a couple of drones later on if you want to focus on your army for defense like this.
Yeah, the scary part is that behind all of that, like, Stats took a 4th base, so now both players are on equal bases. Stats was also working on Storm. Storm is actually already done, so he's got plenty of energy as well. So he's getting ready for round 2. Meanwhile, Armani still feels like he's trying to recover a little bit. He is now working on his +1 range. Yeah, but I don't think he has enough, mate. He's down in supply right now.
Yeah, neither do I. He's down in supply. They're just about even, but that's always going to favor the Protoss player. Stats doesn't even need to kill Armani at this position. He is a 4-base Protoss player. The most comfortable position a Protoss player can really be at this point.
We'll see. We'll see how good the Storms are going to be. We'll see how good the Biles are going to be on the side of Armani as well, as Stats is looking to push into the 4th.
Yeah, not quite getting there yet. Just needs to have his High Templar in position. Once again, those Storms, they're looking really good here. Storm in the mineral line with all of the Zerg army trapped in.
Exactly. We have more Zealots reinforcing in as well, being warped in, getting on top of everything. The majority of the Hydras have already gone down.
It was a good attempt to surround here for Armani, but there's just way too much damage for Stats, it seems. And out of the Templar, out of energy, just turn them into Archons. Very beefy units. GG is called. What was the Carapace for?
It's a solid ... into GG as well.
Yeah. I'm thinking that's what Armani was also thinking.
GG. Well played. Stats takes the first game, and interesting decision making there by Armani. Maybe if the +1 armor wasn't there, then Armani wouldn't have been able to hold against the charge like attack, but I mean, he still lost all his Hydras anyway, you know.
He did. Maybe he was thinking that, you know, this style of void double void ray into +1 chargelets is kind of what Sats likes to do, and it hits very hard when it does. So maybe just trying to survive long enough to get himself enough breathing room, because again, after the first engagement, Armani didn't take any economic damage. He was still on 4 bases, didn't lose any drones, but as you pointed out, Stats, while attacking, was also macroing up very comfortably, and now when it got to the end, that Carapace didn't really help too much against ground Protoss upgrades.
Yeah. Fun fact. I just really want to confirm this. Okay. There was a little bit of banter between Armani and Stats, and yeah, they were actually talking about upgrades. Fun fact. At least that's what I got from Google Translate. In the end, Armani said Protoss OP.
As demonstrated. Continuing on Pillars of Gold, LE. We're here in the top right-hand corner map, running all the way in the top right-hand corner. The blue Protoss player. He is coming down from the land of South Korea. He is the Shield of Fire, but that game, he looked a little bit more like a spear. Representing Afrika Freaks Light. Are you free?
Down in Afrika.
He is Stats boy.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Pillars of Gold LE, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg. His fellow teammate also representing Team Afrika Freaks. It is Armani.
Alright, so we have confirmation. Armani was talking about upgrades, stats as well. You think he's gonna skip out on the Evo chamber this time?
Nah, he's gonna commit. He's gonna go double Evos, man.
He's gonna go double Evos. He's gonna use one for +1 carapace, the other one for +2 carapace.
There you go. That's the big brain play.
You know, it's like one of those life hacks, or not life hacks, sorry, StarCraft hacks, right? I bet you didn't notice. If you get 6 spawning pools, your Lings built quicker.
Yeah, yeah. Hashtag useless fun facts.
Hashtag false fun facts.
Hashtag don't listen to us. Oh god. But yeah, again, very very interesting playstyle there by Armani. We'll see if he has something else in store for us. Again, I question the armor upgrades there and then him going for that, but you know.
Well, it kept him alive for a little longer.
It did. You're not wrong there. It delayed the inevitable. Made stats.
But of course, stats, he is inevitable.
He is inevitable, and here we go once again, going for that Stargate.
That's about what we expected here. This is stats we're talking about, one of the more standard Protoss players out there. Every now and then he'll pull out one of his wildcard builds just to switch things up, make himself a little bit less predictable, but he does rely more on his fundamentals and, you know, having a good build.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what we expect from someone like Stats, which is why I'm curious as to what Armani's going to do, right? He was very defensive last game. You know, he wasn't the aggressive one. He wasn't going out there with a German taxi. He wasn't going out there with some kind of Hydra timing either. You know, how does he approach this matchup in general? What are his thoughts? I mean, we know what his thoughts are. His thoughts are Protoss OP.
Well, yeah. And something about upgrades as well. That's what we've been able to glean. But yeah, now that you point out, Armani was more defensive last game, so I guess that means he's more comfortable with late game in CVP?
Maybe.
Definitely more than Solar.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he just wants to get into the late game in a better position, right?
Yeah, it's always a possibility.
We'll see. As we do have the Stargate being revealed, which big surprise, right? Protoss going Stargate.
Oh. Wow.
I know, right?
Void Ray, dude.
To shock horror, mate.
Following it up with an Oracle?
But hopefully Armani has better Oracle defense this time. If you recall, he neglected a Spore in his natural, and as a result, the Oracle did find some decent damage there.
Okay, so he's got his Spores where his, you know, more populated mineral lines are at. Doesn't have one in his natural base, but again, there aren't any drones there either.
Very true, very true. We do see the Oracle is moving out across the map for stats. Meanwhile, as it is moving out, we do have a second Stargate being thrown down, so Stats doing more of the same.
Yeah. Just trying to get into the mid-game in a very comfortable and safe position.
Oof.
Likely we're going to see a Twilight Council after this, having our mid-game being a lot more gateway-oriented than then. Keeping in the late game is how I predict this game goes.
Yeah. And Armani already switching things up. By now, we would have seen an Evo chamber. This time, no Evo. Instead, a faster lair.
Okay. I'm liking this a lot more. Now, here's the thing, Light. How many gases are we looking at? We know that Solar's answer to this is always going to be Hydras. Armani, he has been fond of Mutas in the past.
I wouldn't be opposed to mutas. I've seen it work before, where you go mutas and you have enough to avoid the void rays, deal a lot of damage, force your opponent to switch into phoenixes, and then you just go hydras behind it.
Absolutely. Like, it's one of those scenarios where you know your opponent is gonna go for void rays instead of phoenixes. You might as well take advantage of that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the anti-patience.
The impatience.
There you go. There you go. As the queens are starting to march across the map, we have nothing but Lings in production for Armani. He has stopped worker production at 52, and he is just making nothing but units. And has
it's
this...
the taxi without the drop alerts coming out from Armani.
And I don't think the Void Rays spotted it. They're just committing to the attack. And to be fair, like they can kill a hatchery if they want.
They absolutely can, especially since there's no queens in this main base. Stats is going to be aware of this. Knows those queens are making their way across, and of course he always has a recall available to him. He's going to try to take out this lair. It's going to go down, unfortunately.
Yeah, and feels bad, man. The lair is going to go down before the attack happens. I was hoping maybe Armani could deal some damage in the absence of the Void Rays, but the Void Rays have the time to kill this and just recall.
Just like so. Armani is hitting pretty hard. But again, not...
Where's the recall?
Not something that Stats can't handle.
Uh-huh.
Recall is not going down as of yet. Stats just trying to get more tech damage.
Exactly, that's exactly what he wants. Meanwhile, Armani is pushing into the natural base. A couple of bars are being thrown down. It looks like they will be landing on the shield battery. Do manage to take it out.
And that was a super battery as well. The most important structure here that Armani could take out at the moment. Get a couple of these Void Rays, actually. Really nicely done, but the queens are running out of energy. And Disruptor is about to pop.
Oh no, the Disruptor just come out. Oh god.
And that's half the Ravagers. Instant GG. Stats already going to match point. I'm liking this a lot more than the Carapace build, but quite a bit of mistiming there, unfortunately, from Armani.
That was a beatdown, mate. That was
It really was.
Like, it felt like Stats was like holding Armani back with one hand. You know? Like he wasn't even sweating. Like he was still mining at his third. He was taking his time to recall the Void Rays. Like he was even allowing a couple of bios to land as well, which was like, oh damn, the bios are landing on the Void Rays, but like the Disruptor just shut it down.
Oh no. Anyway.
Aye.
Probably the juiciest Purification Nova connect I've seen in a while here. But yeah, throw that all together, and there's a reason why Stats is called the Shield of Ire, except this time he has like a spike on his shield.
Yeah, that was not pretty. I hope Armani isn't too tilted. I know he's expressing a bit of his disdain about Protoss right now, but like we know that he can do it. Like he's beaten Stats before.
He definitely has a couple of times. I think the record is still a little bit Stats favored, but a lot of times, especially in these online events, Armani, if not beating Stats, made their series a lot closer than they are now. I guess that really just speaks to how informed Stats is looking currently. But speaking of which, we are now on Jagannatha LE for what could potentially be the final map of the series for the final semifinals. Just saying that 10 times fast. In the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner, the Shield of Ire himself. He is the blue Protoss player, known to bless the reigns.
Down in Africa.
He is representing Team Africa Freaks. We have Stats.
Normally you ask me a question. you just stop mid-sentence and I'm like, what?
Let's look up on it.
Oh god, spawning in the top right hand corner of Jagannatha LE. We have the South Korean Zerg player. He is red. He's currently down 0-2 in this best of 5 semi-finals. He needs your support. He needs your energy here and now to fight back and make it at least to another game, at least to the ace match. We have here, also representing Africa Freaks, Armani.
Also blesses reigns.
He does. Where?
In his suits. Or his closet, yes. Wardrobe. drawer, cupboard.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got. Oh god, we got the game underway here, and I'm worried for Armani, mate. I'm scared.
I am as well. I mean, Stats just has so much momentum behind him going into this ace match. Jagannatha, there are some things that Zerg can do on this map, but considering Stats likes to play it defensive, this is just going to go in his favor, I imagine. We'll see what Armani whips up for us here. If he goes for another Evo Chamber build, could go for a Nidus potentially. Not sure how well that's going to work, but could go for it.
He definitely could. On a map like Jagannatha, we have seen like queen pushes on this map as well. The speed zones definitely help out or assist with that. So maybe we'll see that again. But the problem with that is that like he's already done that once before in the series, in the last game. You know, you don't typically want to try the same strategy again if it failed the first time. Meanwhile, because of that, Stats is just doing this. There's no reason for him to switch things up.
Yeah, do the same thing until your opponent can hold it. It's a pretty solid approach to series preparation.
Yeah, there's no reason for Stats to mix things up, so he just keeps going for it. Oh boy, Armani, what do we have? Are we gonna go for another fast like Evo Chamber? Are we gonna see a faster lair? Are we gonna just Nidus, maybe?
Potentially, hopefully, Muta.
Potentially, maybe Muta. Honestly, I don't really want to see Nidus, to be honest. I don't know if this is the best map for it, but we'll see.
Yeah, Muta's will work out quite a bit better, I imagine. But yeah, my eyes are glued to the top left-hand part of the screen. Just look at the protection tab. Armani still trying to play this out as safe as he can, at least in the early game.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't blame him. He has to get these spores up, otherwise he's going to sacrifice a mineral line.
Exactly. The spores are on the way. We've got a couple more queens on the way as well. We're just keeping an eye on the rest of his gases, you know, when he takes the remaining gases here. When he throws down that Roach Warren, which he has been throwing down so far, I think, almost every single game. Going into those Ravagers. Meanwhile, Stats. Shock, horror, mate. He's going for a second Stargate.
I'm surprised.
I know, right? It's crazy.
I don't think he's done this.
Yes, he's gonna go double Stargate Phoenix, mate.
Patience got into his brain a little.
Oh god. You know what? I'd like to think that Patience is out there. He's messaging Protoss players. He's like, guys, this works. Guys, trust me.
Trust me. They're like, oh, can you show us a replay of like how to execute that? And he's like, so Blizzard broke replays?
He's like, sure, but only watch the first 10 minutes. Just don't watch the whole thing. Just trust me, it works.
Yeah. The best source. Stats is switching things up a little bit this time. Going for a bit of a quicker Twilight Council and a fort. So he does want to go into his gateway transition a lot quicker than he did in game number 1.
Yeah, that he is going to be working on those charge lots. Charge lots, of course, they're amazing units at the moment. They are beautiful at what they do. They get on top of roaches, they get on top of hydras. They are nice buffer units for your Void Rays. And speaking of, the lair did just finish up. I'm curious as to what the lair's purpose will be, as once again we have a decent amount of queens, and yeah, he's going for it.
Across the map, he's going for it. Armani, he's been listening to Solar. He wants to end this as quickly as he can. Stats going for a Dark Shrine this game.
Ooh.
That is what you want for the defense.
I mean, that could actually hard shut this down.
It really could. I don't see an Overseer in position here.
To be fair, there is a lair, so...
I don't think he... Yeah?
Yeah. So there is a lair. There is no pneumatized carapace, so even if he does morph one in, it's going to be incredibly slow.
It really would. There is kind of an Overlord here. But I think this is the closest one is on the other side of the map.
Yeah, it's nowhere
near.
Still
on Armani's side of the map.
Exactly.
I'm actually really loving this response from Stats. He's saying, okay, I'm getting as many Void Rays as I can, really making Armani too afraid to send Overlords to my side of the map. Take absolute full advantage of that. Get these DTs and use them a little defensively.
Exactly. Again, this army is still pretty terrifying for Armani, so he's going to try and push on forward. The Dark Shrine is about to finish up in a couple of seconds.
And when it does, I mean, Stats is going to have to be careful not to have those DTs battle down before they can warp in, but after they're out, it's going to do quite a lot. Now, these are very beefy Zerg units here for this Asian game anyway, and there are plenty of queens to transfuse. But here we go, a couple of DTs chopping down these queens.
Mate, they're cleaning everything up, mate. The DTs are just on fire right now. Armani is forced back. 6 probes have gone down, but that's not enough. Ooh, nice biles there. But again, there is no real response to the DTs.
No, there is not. These queens caught completely off a creep. I don't believe Galarian Constitution. Yeah, Galarian Constitution has not been researched. Armani's gonna have such a tough time getting these Ravagers and these queens out of here. Overseer now on the way, but I feel like it's a little too late.
Oh, God, that it is. Honestly, there was no reason for Stats to back off with his DTs. Like, he could have just kept them on top of the army and just slice away at the queens. And despite Armani having a massive supply advantage, Stats, he holds beautifully.
The shield once again demonstrating how he got that name. And I guess Stats is just saying, this isn't how we were meant to play this out, Armani.
Right.
I will not chase you with my DTs. I will be honorable.
Yeah, he's gonna back off and just make a bunch of charge lots and then go in. Oh God.
It's arguably worse.
It is. Okay, to be fair, charge isn't done. So these zealots, they are quite slow.
Yeah, Stats coming in a little bit premature. And he realizes this. He's mistimed his attack aggression a little bit too much. So he's supposed to back away, regroup, and doesn't have a Warpism here either.
Yeah. It looks like his build has been disrupted a little bit, so he can't really move out right now. So instead, he backs off, he expands. Meanwhile, Armani is throwing down a relatively fast infestation pit. I'm curious if he's going to like try and commit and actually go swarm host like we saw Solar do, or if this is just to go into a much faster hive and go into lurkers and just kind of tech up in that way. Oh, there you go.
I want to see Armani pull a rogue. Okay, he is going for the lurkers, which to be fair is what you want versus chargeless regardless as a Zerg player, but I would love to see Armani pull a rogue. Just get some infestors out as many as he can with his supply and to just microbial shrouded up. Took me a while to get the name of the spell.
Yeah.
I almost said brown cloak.
What?
Brown cloak, because that's like what it looks like, you know? It's like a blanket, you know?
Yeah, it's like a trench coat. There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Trench coat?
There you go. But Armani, like, he is kind of just going into those lurkers. He's going to eventually get into Vipers. So he is going into Hydra Lurker Viper, which is cool. The problem is that it doesn't feel like he is in the best position to do so. Like, he's on 4 bases compared to Stats, who's also on 4 bases. It feels like Armani needs to try and get another hatchery up and running quite soon.
Yeah, ideally. Stats is already working on that endgame fleet beacon.
Oh yeah. Storm is about to finish up. Fleet Beacon is on the way. He's getting ready to go into those carriers. And it's all about Armani preparing to transition into that late game. Like, he needs to be on point with his creep spread. He needs to be on point with his bases as well, his upgrades. Like, he needs to be in the best position possible once he goes up against those carriers.
Which he still has quite a bit of time to do so at the moment. Again, the Fleet Beacon only now finishing up. It's going to take a while before Stats really gets the amount of carriers that he wants. But Armani's not exactly utilizing his time particularly well, trying to be a little active on the map, but apart from this one force in the middle of the map, he just doesn't have much of a presence.
Yeah. There's one key unit that Armani's missing. That's the Viper. Yeah. Where are the Vipers at? What's going on here?
Well, he's about to max out, and spellcasters, this is going to be really tough for Armani to engage into. Well, I guess queens are kind of like spellcasters.
Yeah, and maybe he's like, you know what? Like, I don't. Maybe as like a personal thing as a player, he doesn't enjoy the dance between the High Templar and the Viper, and he just wants to avoid that.
Yeah, entirely valid.
Oh, good.
But not as effective as what I'll say. Lurker's doing a decent job of keeping these zealots at bay. but that's not really what he needs to worry about.
Yeah, there are a lot of queens here as well, with so many transfuses available. Meanwhile, the Hydras are trying to rotate around here. Oh, the stasis.
Actually might hit pretty well. Completely avoiding the stasis. Ooh.
Yeah, that
Very
they do,
well
but
done over there.
It looks like all these Hydras are going to be cleaned up. Meanwhile, at the same time, there was a bit of a zealot run by. A couple of drones did fall, and now Armani, he only has 1 point of attack here, and it's a little bit awkward as well because the queens, they're quite thick. Like, it makes maneuvering around them a little bit awkward.
Oh, it really does. That's almost taking out the Saturday. It should go down. I say that. Okay, it's not gonna go down. Now I'm already starting to get a couple of Vipers in. What he absolutely needs, it is going to take a lot of persuasion for Stats to move out of this defensive position. But Yoink, that's a pretty persuasive argument.
Yeah, definitely. He just has to be careful and make sure he avoids those High Templar. Meanwhile, as all this is happening, Stats once again sends a massive Zealot run by over to the left-hand side, and he does land the Storms.
Beautifully done. Just about every lurker being taken out here,
wow.
And the carriers of the Immortals take care of the rest. No more lurkers here. One lurker remaining. Did not even notice that one, and neither did Stats apparently. But again, the majority of Armani's army taken completely out. These Zealots don't even care about the Zerglings.
No, they do not, as the hatchery does fall, and now the Zealots, they're moving on to the next one. Like, there's just so much value that they are achieving. They force all of the Hydras back home to defend. And now Stats, he's once again defended well, and now that carrier count is getting almost to an uncontrollable amount.
It's getting to critical mass, yeah. So it's once again trying to get something done. I suppose forcing Armani to make a bunch of spine crawlers instead of investing in his army is already pretty decent for Stats, assuming he keeps his ults alive.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, that is a decent amount of resources wasted there, especially because, that hatchery is so low. Like, it could eventually go down to a run by if they just run past the spines.
It really could.
Oh boy.
Spines, unfortunately, don't provide as solid a wall as you perhaps might want.
Yeah, their DPS isn't that high either. Meanwhile, here we go. Stats is maxed out. He's feeling confident enough to move into creep. Your base trade?
And away from the army.
Oh my god.
It's entirely possible. Now, Stats does have that recall available to him, but we're going to see if he pops it immediately or if he tries to use it a little bit later. Actually, slowly making his way back.
Ooh, interesting choice.
I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I guess nicely done for Armani. He does slow down the attack. He does force Stats to go back home. But will Armani commit to this? Oh god.
I think he kind of has to. Beautiful feedbacks on top of those Vipers.
Oh
and
god.
With that, Armani, he did quite a lot of damage, killing a lot of probes here and taking out a lot of important infrastructure, but I feel like this attack has completely run out of steam. Look at that supply plummet for Armani. He's trying to reinforce this as best he can, but Stats still holding strong. GG is called, and he sweeps his opponent, going into the finals to face another Zerg player, Solar. GG.
GG, well played. Stats, like the Storms, they landed beautifully. Not just that, the Disruptor shots as well. He immediately feedbacked all the Vipers. All the Queens were segmented off away from all the Hydralists, so all the Queens went down first, and then there was just a Hydra lurker left, and Stats just absolutely dismantled the army of Armani. That was clean. And as all that was happening, there was a big Zealot run by as well across the map.
There was. Even if it didn't get too much damage done, it at least kept the reinforcements at bay. Really wasn't much Armani could do from that point forward. And Stats, it looks like he's been polishing the shield.
Oh yeah, that he has. And we will see how good that shield is here, as he will be going up against one of the best Zerg players in all of South Korea. He has disposed of Armani.
Arguably,
he's up against Solar.